What's up everyone, it's Caddy with MoneyVest. So today we're going to be talking about PayPal stock, which over the last couple days has not performed super well because it got rejected from its resistance of its double top resistance that we talked about in one of our previous videos. And PayPal really needed to push through with some heavy volume in order for that trend reversal to take place. So I'm here to give you an update and kind of share my thoughts and go over the technical analysis and also talk a little bit about the future expectations for earnings, because earnings are scheduled for the April 30th, so at the end of this month. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. So hope you all enjoy this video, find it helpful. If you do, make sure that you drop a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate that. It really helps out the channel. Links to our Discord and Patreon is going to be down below, so do join our Discord if you want to get access to all the members only private videos, including all the trade alerts and trade ideas, and of course the options alerts as well. So first things first, let's talk a little bit about Tesla's technical analysis. So we talked about the super golden cross, right? And super golden cross happens when the short-term moving average, which is the 50 simple moving average, crosses over the long-term moving average, which is the 200 simple moving average. And of course, the opposite is a death cross or something that is more bearish along the lines. And what you'll notice is that if you come over to the daily chart, we did witness the opposite of that. So basically the short-term moving average, the 50-day SMA, crossing below the 200 SMA here back on October 27th in 2021 for PayPal. So, before that, we were still very much near all-time highs. PayPal was trading well over $274. It was only down a mere 13% from its all-time highs. But of course, as soon as this death cross happened, and of course, we did have a lot of earnings misses, and earnings expectations continue to come down because PayPal, for some reason, had this negative sentiment. And I do agree that I think PayPal at over $300 was incredibly overvalued. But this right here continues to be very much overblown to the downside, as PayPal, ever since that crossover, is still down a little bit over 76-77%. And you'll notice a green line, which is on the chart, has continued to stay below the 200 simple moving average up until more recently. So this right here was a more recent trend where I basically pinpointed that this is a golden cross for PayPal, and for it to turn into a super golden cross, it needs to stay above the 200 SMA for at least 3 days or more, and that's going to result in that overall shift in the pattern and could lead for prices to be higher 1 year later. Because we talked about this in my previous video. S&P 500 went through a similar study, and when there was a super golden cross, the S&P 500 100% of the times, absolute perfect win rate, was higher 1 year later. And this right here was on March 28th. This right here was April 1st. This right here, April 2nd. So 3 days have already happened. But again, we're going to have to find out whether this time it continues to perform well, or if this indicator actually fails from a golden cross and super golden cross standpoint. I like to focus a little bit more on the technical side of things, which is, kind of price action wise, support and resistance level wise. So this right here is the entire analysis. And what you will notice is this circle that I highlighted in my previous video, which is once again a very important double top resistance for PayPal. So this right here is a level at close to $68-69, as well as this right here from January of 2024. So January 22nd, we got rejected at the same exact level here for PayPal, and of course sold off all the way down to $57 per share. So not only once, but a couple times we've gone rejected here at this level. Perhaps even before, we've kind of validated this as a support. This right here was a support. So bottom line is that where PayPal is struggling right now is a very key area of resistance, because not only have we gotten rejected here in more recently, as much as January of 24, but also we found that level as a very important level of support for PayPal. And as we know with technical analysis, all support levels turn into new resistance levels, and all resistance levels also turn into new support levels. So just like how Tesla has, let's say, a huge resistance in the 200s and 240s, PayPal has a massive resistance and a lot of order supply sitting in the $68 to $70 range, and we're just not able to break past that level. Now the good thing is, and the silver lining here, is that the higher lows continue. So what that means is that we're not really going lower than we did the previous time, and that was back in October of 23. That was at $50. But again, I don't want to jinx it, but this right here was the higher low. So that in itself is showing signs of some momentum. That in itself is showing some signs of strength. So you know what happens, and let me just quickly break this down for you. So if you come over to a blank space and I essentially tell you about a trend, this right here is lower highs and lower lows, right? So this is a downtrending channel because what's happening here is that we're actually making lower highs. In other words, this right here, we're not going as high as we did the previous time, and we're also going lower than we did the previous time. So this right here are going to be lower highs and lower lows. Now the reversal of that is essentially a higher high and a higher low. So this right here is the higher highs, meaning that we're going higher than we did the previous time, and we're also not going as low as we did the previous time. Now, these two patterns got to meet somewhere, right? They've got to meet somewhere, meaning there has to be some connection of these two patterns in some space, right? And that's where I believe PayPal is right now. I think it's in this space over here where these two patterns are kind of meeting. And then eventually when we start to see that higher high, which is exactly why I needed PayPal to break out over $68 to $70 this week in order for us to get that volume, in order for us to get that breakout and higher high, that's what's going to confirm not only higher lows, but the more important higher highs. That's a sign of strength, and that is a sign of a reversal in the overall trend. And that's exactly where I feel PayPal is at the moment right now in that convergence of those two patterns. It's been trading in this downtrending channel for a very long time, and now it's essentially been consolidating, making some higher lows. All we really need is a breakout for PayPal beyond $68 to $70 per share in order for it to confirm that uptrend and that trend reversal back to the upside, with that next target being at 76 all the way up to $88. And then we're kind of like off to the races, because I feel, technically speaking, the momentum is going to be back on favor for the bulls to the upside. Fundamentally speaking, of course, earnings are coming out. So, as discussed, $1.21 earnings per share, revenue of over $7.5 billion. And the company continues to perform really well in terms of fundamentals here. You can see quarter over quarter, revenues are solid and stable. Profitability is there. Margins are pretty good. Annually speaking, every single year, the company's been able to grow their revenue and grow their profitability, albeit there's been some problems along the way with some, write-offs and intangibles. And of course, eBay for the longest time was also making a significant amount of challenges for earnings in terms of PayPal's earnings. And net debt, of course, negative $2.5 billion. So companies continue to boast a very strong balance sheet with some good margins as well. And a valuation is relatively cheap, right? So 16 times earnings, 14.5 times cash flow, and a little bit over 2 times sales. PayPal continues to, really represent a lot of value for money, in my opinion, with a potential for technicals to also, move back higher. Now, on the weekly time frame, I do want to highlight that there is, of course, overbought levels, meaning that RSI has been pushing higher, above the MACD. Of course, the RSI right now, the MACD has been pushing higher above the signal line, and the RSI is a little bit more neutral. But if you take a look at the oscillator, the L3 banker oscillator, it's been pushing up, right? So we did get that signal back on November 13th, that yellow bar that you see. So let me just bring that up here. So the yellow bars essentially represent that institutional investors are stepping in, right? That's the funds that the whales are stepping in. And then of course we saw a significant amount of rally with the more and more buying activity for PayPal. And then now we're kind of peaked at over 82, 86. And every time, of course, we've peaked here, we've seen that, institutional investors and bankers starting to kind of offload that position, de-risk, lighten up on the risk here, and then start dumping some shares. And of course, prices roll right back down. But this right here is the first time since, I would say, since basically June of 2020. So first time in 4 years that PayPal's institutional involvement has been so strong. And this was all prior to the sell-off that we witnessed, right? It never really touched on a weekly time frame. It never really got up to this level of 83, 84, which is actually quite crazy, because if you think about it, institutional investors and L3 bankers and kind of like the whales here never really saw so much potential in PayPal up until now. And the last time we witnessed that was back in 2020, because that's the only time we got up to over 84, 85 levels on this oscillator in the past. So again, I hope you all enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Again, the really important piece and takeaway here is the huge resistance in the wall of supply sitting at $68 to $70 per share. That's really the breakout that we need. Support level is going to stay put inside this green rectangle in the 57 to as much as $60, $65 per share. So again, and fundamentally speaking, long term, I continue to remain bullish and of course optimistic on PayPal as well. So again, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Links to our Discord and Patreon is going to be down below as well if you want to join with limited spots left. So always happy investing. I'll see you all in the next video.